Okay, guys, make sure to like, comment, and subscribe. Now, fasten your seatbelts. Here we go. All right, guys, I'm back, and it is Saturday, November the 2nd, and the clocks go back tonight, fall back, spring forward. So remember to set your clocks tonight. It is 10:34 p.m. Eastern Time, and I do want to talk to you about something else, and actually to make room for everything that I need to get in tonight, because I don't think my voice is going to hold up to 2 videos. I think I'm going to leave my thanking for my Patreon and so forth until my next video, and I'll catch up with everyone at that point, because there is something really important that I want to speak to you guys about. I don't know if you've heard this or not, but well, I want to get this out of the way first. First of all, the most important thing, I don't know if it's more important than what I'm about to say, but Q is back. He has used the trip code that he used to use on the old board. The new board is up. I haven't been able to get onto it because of the traffic, but several people have, and they say that Q has posted. Now, he hasn't posted anything of significance. It is just tests to see if everything is secure, but that's good news because it means that he is going to be back soon. So I think it's everybody's. I think the consensus is that it is Q. So we'll have to wait and see. He may even post more tonight, although I still can't get on the new board, and I don't know if it's that I'm doing something wrong or that I'm just that it's just overloaded, and because there's a ton of traffic on it, as you can well imagine. So that's number one. Number two, I don't know if you guys have heard this or not, but I'm going to throw it out there because I would much rather warn people and be made a fool than to not warn them and something happen. So I'm not so concerned about what you think, or if you think I'm crazy. Maybe I am. I don't know. But it has been, I ran across several videos, and it's by a German gentleman. And he has a very thick accent, but you can tell he's very, very well, he's very well schooled, he's very intelligent, and he has researched it very well. He believes that there is going to be an FF on, tomorrow, November 3rd, at the football game in Seattle, Washington, and that the narrative will be that it's nuclear, but that will not be the case. It will be the new type of weapons that they are using, let's say, in California. So there's a lot of this. And at first, when I first started listening to him, I went, yeah, here we go again. You know, because everybody predicts and nothing ever happens, which is good. I'd rather nothing happen. But then when I went and saw the sheer number of movies and comics and cartoons and everything that had this date programmed in it to, you know how they always tell us before they do something, right? They always do. Just like, 9/11, when we go back and we look at different things, we can see that it's clearly all through the movies and so forth. We had that imaged, indelibly imprinted in our mind of the Twin Towers being hit by something. So, and there are many, 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 many examples of that. If you've never seen them, I would suggest that you do, because it's very eye-opening. But there are just as many or more for the date tomorrow. So it seems to be Seattle. It's encoded into many of them that it's the year 2019, because I had people say to me, just people that I told in my regular everyday life, I've said, this, and they said, well, how do you know it's 2019? How do you know it's not 2020 or 2021? Well, because the date 2019 is encoded into many of the references. Now, I'm not going to go out and play all this, because If it doesn't happen, it's a waste of time. And they're out there on YouTube. It's easy to search for. If you, and actually, if I can find the channel, I will put it in the first line of the comments, and I'll pin it there for you because it is important. And this guy, yes, it is, you have to really listen to him. He's got a thick accent, but he speaks well. And a lot of it is he's showing examples from the movies and so forth, so he's not talking as much. So anyway, I would suggest you do that. Now, if you are in the Seattle area, I would take precautions because you know what? Okay, let's say it doesn't happen. Well, great. Everybody's safe and sound and we're all happy. But if it does, I would certainly not want a listener of this show to be involved in that and be a casualty of it by any stretch. And you know, from, I'm not even sure the movie now, was it? I'm not sure. I'm really not a movie person. So, but they have that scene, and I think most of us have seen the scene where the guy's running with a football, and behind him, the whole floor of the stadium is blowing up behind him, and it's just a big crater there. And and it's interesting because in that game, I believe it was the Seahawks and the I'm not sure who they're playing. All I remember is the Seahawks. You know, I'm not a football player either, but or a watcher. But anyway, I know I'm kind of bumbling through this, but I'd rather bumble through it and look like an idiot. I really would, and I would feel terrible if something did happen and I didn't at least warn the listeners of this show. So please, before tomorrow, if you are in that area or if you're just interested, please look up those videos. I beg you, because it could save your life. It could. And they're also doing drills in that area for an earthquake. So that's interesting as well. So I'm not going to belabor that. I just wanted to put that out there. Again, you can do with it what you will. You can say I'm indulging in fear porn. I don't care. I don't care what you call me or what you think of me. I would feel better knowing that I have at least warned the listeners that are within my hearing that this is a possibility, and it's actually a very good possibility. A lot of them I look at and I go, oh, you're stretching that. Like, I mean, they take numbers from here and there and whatever, and I'm thinking, I don't know about that. This, it kind of hit me right in the gut, and I went, this is so much like 9/11. So please be cautious, please. And I'm going to go on there then, and I'll leave it up to you, and I'll put it in your hands that if you want to learn more about it, there's stuff out there without me getting into it because it's already been done and it's already been done well. So any effort that I would make at it now would suck in comparison. I'm just being honest with you. So let's get into this. Now, it says, is Q back? Well, it appears as if he is. And this is actually what Q posted. He posted under anonymous, but he posted it under Q's old trip code. So I don't know if we know 100% that it's Q, but I think that most that are in the know, think that the possibility is extremely high. So the first thing he posted was /BAS _ test /1. Then the very next thing he did was the same thing except test /2. Then somebody chimes in and says, we back? And somebody else says, welcome back, Q, and does the little 07, which is meant to be a salute. Our bot is online. And then we've got this from Q. So this is just a bunch of tests because he put security confirmation A /1, security config A 1 2. security config A23, security config D1, security config D12, security run comms, safe _2, DOD route _1 to 9, DOD route 10 _10 to 19, and then 20 to 29, and then 9999999, and then DOD pack 1 to 99, and then it says Q. So if it's not Q, it's somebody extremely smart, because I don't know how he would manage to get in the exact trip code and everything else. So I do believe that Q is back. This is very good news for everyone. And it's very bad news for the deep state. This is probably the worst time in their eyes for Q to come back. Now, mark my words, all of a sudden there's going to be a whole rash of new things pointing to Q and saying it's just a big conspiracy theory and la la la. So you can just about assure, you can just be assured, I'm sorry, I'm having trouble talking tonight. I'm just having one of those off days. But you can be assured that they will start attacking Q the minute he's back, and he's back. So look for it. It'll be coming. And imagine how Nancy Pelosi and Schiff is going to feel, and Pelosi, or not Pelosi, but Schumer, and I can think of many people that aren't going to be happy about Q being back. But we are. All right, so November 1st and November 2nd, Q is back. So there you go. Now, let's look at this. This is kind of out of, well, no, it isn't. It is still in, it's all part of Q and part of the whole thing. This from the DC Patriot. Hang on here. And it says, breaking, America First Media names public officials at hospital the morning of Seth Rich shooting. Now, this is from August 19th, but it's interesting to note, and maybe you've heard this before, I had, but someone was reminding everyone on Twitter, and I thought, you know what, that's a good thing for people to understand who was there right after, because he wasn't dead. Seth Rich was not dead on scene. He died at the hospital. Now, I always found that a little bit interesting because, let's look at this. America First Media has brought forth new findings in their investigation into the 2016 homicide of DNC employee Seth Rich. An inside source with knowledge of what occurred at the hospital on the early morning of July 10th, 2016, has revealed former DNC chairperson Donna Brazil and DC Mayor Muriel Bowser arrived shortly after EMTs had delivered the injured victim for emergency treatment of 2 gunshot wounds to the torso. Rich, age 27 at the time, was expected to survive. He was expected to survive his injuries, but unfortunately died during surgery, much to the surprise of the EMTs who had claimed he was conscious but confused at the scene of the shooting. With little to no information released publicly about the homicide by DC Metropolitan Police, America First Media investigators had confirmed last year the hospital was, in fact, MedStar Hospital, and the surgeon who had commenced operating and ultimately pronounced Seth Rich deceased at 5:57 a.m. as being Dr. Christine Tracheum. The investigation now reveals the unexpected presence of the 2 prominent DC political figures shortly after the victim's arrival at the hospital. Investigator and founder of American First Media, Matt Couch, has publicly issued a 1-week window withholding these findings in the hope one or both of these women would reach out to the team for discussion as to their unexpected presence where the victim would come to pass. Neither woman responded to Couch's offer. Now, why were they there? Seth Rich was not a big name. He was just a DNC worker. He was a young man, 27 years of age, and I just don't understand why people of that status, I mean, the mayor of DC, I don't know. seems kind of odd. Donna Brazil, what was she doing there? How did she even hear about it? How did these two women hear about it? They were on the way to the hospital in the EMT. Like the EMT had them loaded up in the ambulance on the way to the hospital. How did these two women find out quick enough to get to the hospital right after he arrived? How? I mean, his parents wouldn't even have known at that point, right? So these developments bring further questions without answers to the murder case, which has been shrouded in secrecy for the past 2 years. Why were two high-profile political figures at the hospital in the early morning hours? Who advised them of the shooting so soon after it occurred? Was Seth Rich more than the mid-level employee he had been made out to be by the media and the DNC? America First Media will continue to follow up on leads and information as more sources have come forward recently. So this is interesting, and I know we know this, but when you really get down and look at it, these women showed up at the hospital before his parents even knew he was shot. Before anyone knew. How would anyone have known? He was shot. Someone called 911. The EMTs arrived, they put him in an ambulance, they rush him to the hospital, and then just right after they arrived, there comes the mayor of Washington, D.C. and Donna Brazil at 5-something in the morning. That can't be a coincidence. But why hasn't anybody questioned them as to what they were doing at the hospital? Why hasn't anybody pulled the security cameras to see what they were doing and where they were and who they were talking to? Why hasn't anybody pulled the camera? I assume that they record operations. I would think that they would. Maybe they don't, but I would want to see that because something happened to Seth Rich that should not have. And first he was targeted to murder, but they didn't get him. Now, personally, the reason I think that they knew is because whoever was hired to do the job let them know he's not dead. I didn't kill him. We didn't kill him. He's on the way to the hospital. And they wanted to make sure that the job was finished. That's what I think. Call me nuts. Some have. But I think it's logical. Because who else would have told them? How could they have known? There is absolutely, positively no possible way they would have known. And I don't think Seth, after being shot twice in the abdomen, was there texting, "Hey, Donna, hey, Mayor of New York, please come see me, cheer me up. I've been shot." I mean, really, right? It's ridiculous. All right. Let's go back now because there's lots to get to tonight and I've got to keep moving here. Let me see here. I've got so much that I'm going to have to pick and choose here. Oh, yes. And this is not important, but interesting. Trump identifies Conan, military dog in Baghdadi raid, said she will visit the White House. And I think that's awesome. I think she should visit the White House, and I think she should be given lots and lots of belly rubs and treats. The heroic military dog who helped take out ISIS leader Abu Bakr al-Baghdadi is headed to the White House. President Trump on Wednesday tweeted a photo of the dog, whom he identified as Conan, and said the pup will be leaving the Middle East for the White House sometime next week. The photo of Conan, who Newsweek reports was named after comedian and talk show host Conan O'Brien, is clearly edited and shows Trump awarding the military pooch a medal. Trump dubbed it a very cute recreation, but said that the live version of Conan will be visiting Washington, D.C. soon. The Belgian Malinois name was not previously disclosed as it was classified information. The dog's name had remained a military secret because of the nature of the raid that killed Baghdadi on Saturday. Now, I think probably that dog will be retired. I don't know, but a lot of times if a military dog or a police dog is injured, a lot of times they are retired, but I don't know. In this case, those dogs are worth their weight in gold in money because, not every dog can be trained like that. They go through very, very rigorous training. So anyway, let's go back. And, oh yes, let's look at this. Trying to get down here. I've got some newer stuff down here, I think. Sorry, I should have looked this over more. Well, let's go back up here. Okay, let's look at this. It's all good. It's all good. It's all necessary. Impeachment resolution loophole allows Democrats to reject White House witnesses. Now, isn't that something? So the White House won't be able to call any witnesses that might be able to help Trump and give exculpatory evidence because the Democrats can reject it. And they will. Of course they will. They only want their narrative out there. I have never seen a more crooked bunch of so-called adults. They act like kindergarten. They really do. They act like children. In fact, I don't even think children behave that badly. I'm sorry, I ate something before I came on air, and I feel like it's all stuck in my teeth. So if I've got like little crumbs and stuff, seeds sticking out anywhere, just ignore it. Anyway, so let's go. Let's get into this. The impeachment inquiry resolution put forth by House Democrats includes a loophole that would give the majority party or Democrats on the Judiciary Committee the power to reject witnesses requested by the White House, roll call reports. Democrats released the text of the inquiry resolution on Tuesday, which Republicans say does little to nothing to address their concerns moving forward. Well, we didn't really think they were going to address the Republicans' concerns, did we? I mean, I didn't really think for a moment that they would. I mean, they said they would, but of course we know they lied. Okay, so according to roll call, a provision in the resolution gives Democrats the ability to block key witnesses requested by the White House as the process moves to the House Judiciary Committee, led by Chairman Jerry Nadler. Oh, really? Jerry Nadler. I mean, I know that, but just thinking about that makes me ill. Like, really. It makes me throw up a little bit in my mouth. I'm just saying. Per roll call, under the House Judiciary procedures, Trump and his counsel will be invited to attend all panel proceedings and ask questions. They can also request additional evidence or witness testimony, but the committee shall determine whether the suggested evidence is necessary or desirable. So let me get this straight. Any evidence that looks bad for Trump, well, that will be acceptable. But any evidence that is exculpatory in nature, well, that won't be acceptable. I mean, we already know how this is going to go. They'll decide whether the suggested evidence is necessary or desirable. Well, of course, anything that Trump would offer in his defense won't be necessary or desirable, will it? In other words, the provision gives Nadler and the fellow Democrats on the committee power to reject White House witnesses as a form of retribution. While those due process rights generally align with ones afforded in the previous two presidential impeachments, they provide a big caveat that allows Democrats to strip Trump's rights away as easily as they gave them to him. Roll call explains, adding that the provision applies to Trump's stonewalling of any ongoing probes in the Intelligence Oversight, Foreign Affairs, Judiciary, Financial Services, and Ways and Means Committees. Roll call explains. The provision gives Nadler broad discretion to punish Trump for stonewalling any aspect of Democrats' impeachment investigation. Not just allegations. Trump withheld U.S. military aid from Ukraine to pressure the country to investigate his political rivals that are the primary focus of the inquiry. If Trump doesn't turn over his tax returns to the Ways and Means Committee or his financial records to the Financial Services Panel, requests he and his counsel are currently fighting in court, Nadler can use his discretion to deny him and his counsel access to the impeachment proceedings. Think of that. If he doesn't turn over his personal tax returns that were way before he was ever president or in any official capacity within the government, and, and think about this. He was a multi-billionaire before he took this job, right? He's the only one that's not accepting a salary. They're accepting huge salaries, but they're not doing anything. He's doing it all. He's doing it all. And they're not working and sitting back on taxpayers' money. They're millionaires, all of them. Why don't they donate their salaries? Even for a quarter, donate their salaries. They're never going to do that because they don't care about this country. And I would much rather they investigate these people that came in with not even 2 nickels to rub together and suddenly they're multi-millionaires. I'd rather them investigate them than investigate somebody who was a multi-billionaire before he even took office. It's crazy. It's absolutely ludicrous, and it angers me that people don't see through this. It really does. I don't know. It's like I want to shake some people. But when Roll Call asked him about the provision, Nadler remained tight-lipped, describing it simply as a precaution. The only time Nadler is tight-lipped is in between meals. It's true. And snacks. I hope we don't need to use it. As Breitbart News reported, the impeachment resolution also stifles the minority party's ability to call on the whistleblower to testify, giving House Intelligence Committee Chairman Adam Schiff, who has been conducting impeachment depositions in a secret room in Capitol Hill basement, unprecedented power. And you know what? He's the last person or Pelosi or Schumer. These are the last people you'd want to give unprecedented power to. I mean, they accuse Trump of doing the very same things they're doing. And that is a tactic that they got from Saul Alinsky. That's what you're supposed to do. You're supposed to, accuse your enemies of doing the very things that you're doing, because then it makes you immune. Because if anybody comes back and says, well, you're doing this, he'll say, oh, that's my enemies. They're doing that. And they're just trying to blame this on me. I mean, it's classic. It's unbelievable. Anyway, in addition, while Chairman Representative Adam Schiff can reject witnesses proposed by the Republican minority, the ranking member of the minority cannot challenge witnesses called by the chair. Though the minority can appeal the chair's decision to vote by the whole committee, the Democratic majority virtually guarantees that Schiff's veto would be upheld. The House approved of the rules for the impeachment probe Thursday morning. Yeah. This is, I don't know. I've never seen this in America. Like, we're not living in Nazi Germany. We're not living in Russia. We're not living in China, communist China. We're living in America. And this is happening to the president. Can you believe this? I find it very hard to believe. And in fact, if I wasn't reading it, if I wasn't living it, I wouldn't believe it. And if someone had told me 10 years ago that this would happen, I would have called them nuts. And probably other things. All right, so let's go back now because there's more to get to. There's always more. All right. Now, let's go here. Wait, this is old, I think. Hang on here. There's a reason why I have this. Hang on. What is the date on this? October 18th. This is a little old. Never mind. Let's go back. Although it seems to me I remember pulling that up for a reason. Oh, look at this. Okay, just take a deep breath before we look at this. Seriously, you might need it. Or if you take blood pressure pills, you might need to take one. Oh, please. Pelosi says she prayed for America after finding out about Trump Ukraine call. Oh, she's so pious. Just so pious. Such a godly woman. She thinks it's okay to sell baby body parts. She thinks it's okay to have abortion up to and including after birth. She thinks that's okay, but she's such a godly woman. She prays for America. Oh, gosh. I think America can do without her prayers, if you know what I mean. During the interview on CBS's The Late Show with host Stephen Colbert on Thursday, Speaker of the House Nancy Pelosi said she prayed for the United States after she found out what President Trump said on a phone call with the Ukrainian president. When you heard what was in that telephone call, what was your first reaction? Colbert asked. What were the first words that came out of your mouth? And we can bleep them if need be. I prayed for the United States. Oh, right. I'm sure that's the very first thing. Oh, I need to pray. She just hears his phone call. Oh, I gotta pray. Yeah, I don't think so. I prayed for the United States of America, Pelosi claimed. She continued by pretending the call was a sad offense, really, because it's a really sad thing. She's a really sad thing. She's a really, really sad thing. But the phone call, not so much. We don't want to impeach a president. We don't want the reality that a president has done something that is in violation of the Constitution. But it was more about so much had happened before, and I had not been enthusiastic about the divisiveness that would occur from an impeachment. Weighing the equities, I had said then he's not worth impeaching because it's going to divide the country further than he had already divided. But this was something that you could not ignore. The speaker continued by claiming that in one conversation, President Trump undermined the United States national security. This from the woman that just went over to give a message to Baghdadi and led the U.S. troops directly to him. Yeah, I think that's a little bit more, against the interest of national security. What do you think, Pelosi? She doesn't know. She's had too much vodka tonight. I'm sorry, but this stuff is just getting to me because it enrages me that these people are some of the most wicked human beings on the face of the earth, and yet they're pointing all their fingers and they're doing, even if Trump was doing something wrong, which I don't believe he is. Do I think he's perfect? Absolutely not. He's a human being. He's flesh and blood. I have no Messiah complex about him. I don't think he is, the savior of the world. I think that he has been brought in for such a time as this. I do believe that. I do believe that there is grace upon him and that he is doing what I don't think anybody else could do. But do I think he's absolutely perfect? No. But do I think he's involved in any of the types of things they are? No, I don't. Maybe I'm wrong, but I doubt it. Anyway, let's see this. It says, it says, in one conversation, he undermined our national security by withholding military assistance to a country that had been voted on by the Congress of the United States to the benefit of the Russians, she continued. At the same time, he jeopardized the integrity of our elections, the heart of our democracy, and in doing so, in my view, he possibly violated his oath of office to protect, defend, and preserve the Constitution of the United States. Yeah, she wouldn't know the Constitution if it tap danced across her nose. Really, she wouldn't. Anyway. Pelosi brags about praying for the well-being of our country, but at the same time, she is responsible for starting one of the most dividing processes in American history, the impeachment of a president who did nothing wrong. On Thursday, the Democratic-controlled House of Representatives voted in favor of formally beginning the impeachment inquiry against President Donald Trump by a vote of 232 to 196. The move comes after Pelosi announced earlier in the week that she would hold a vote in the House to formalize an impeachment inquiry against the president. This week, we will begin a resolution to the floor that affirms the ongoing existing investigation that is currently being conducted by our committees as part of the impeachment inquiry, Pelosi said in a letter on Monday. This resolution establishes the procedure for hearings that are open to the American people, authorize the disclosure of deposition transcripts, outlines procedures to transfer evidence to the Judiciary Committee as it considers potential articles of impeachment, and sets forth due process rights for the president and his counsel, Pelosi added. What are your thoughts? Well, you don't want to know my thoughts. I think you know my thoughts. I think you could probably read my mind. It's scary, but I think you could. And here's the thing. Don't let anybody confuse you about this, because there's a lot of people that are confused about this. Even if they go through all of these charades, even if they voted to impeach him, it still has to go through the Senate, and it will never pass. So, let them just waste more time and more money, ignoring their own districts, which are a mess, and wasting taxpayer money. That's what they do. Oh, and Pelosi, she's running up the bar tab there. Yeah, she must be pickled by now. Seriously. Anyway. Okay, let's go back. Okay, let's look at this. I know you're going to find this hard to believe. I do. California's Proposition 47 leads to rise in shoplifting, thefts, criminal activity across the state. Well, no kidding. I knew when they passed this that it was probably the most stupid, one of the most stupid, but it's hard to say which is the most stupid because there's so many things competing. But listen to this. Oh my. San Francisco. In a lighted garage on one of San Francisco's busiest streets, a young man in baggy trousers and messy brown hair pulled down his pants. He'd been hiding 2 pairs of stolen jeans with the tag still on them. He handed them to another man waiting nearby, took some money, pulled up his pants, and headed back into another store on Market Street, home to the city's high-end designers and big chain retail shops. The incident wasn't a one-off. These brazen acts of petty theft and shoplifting are a dangerous and all too common consequence of Proposition 47, a referendum passed 5 years ago that critics say effectively gives shoplifters and addicts the green light to commit crimes as long as the merchandise they steal or the drugs they take are less than $950 in value. The decision to downgrade theft of property valued below the arbitrary figure from felony to misdemeanor, together with selective enforcement that focuses on more serious crimes, has resulted in thieves knowing they can brazenly shoplift and merchants knowing the police will not respond to their complaints. Imagine that you have saved your money, worked hard your whole life, and you open a retail shop. And I don't know, maybe it's a clothing store and people come in. Now, everybody knows that unless they steal over $950 in value, they'll be okay. And the cops won't even come and investigate. So there's all your merchandise walking out the door, walking out the door, walking out the door. What can you do? You just watch them steal everything you've worked so hard for. And you have no recourse whatsoever. That's why prices are so high. Yeah, because if I was a shopkeeper, I'd be doubling my prices just to make up for all the shoplifters. And that's not fair. Unbelievable. Can you imagine? Oh yeah, you can shoplift up to $950. Gee, I think I'm going to go to California and, pick up a few things I need. No, I'm just kidding. I would never do that. Even if it was legal, I wouldn't do it. The only way I would ever steal from a store is if it was a national disaster and I was starving to death. And, people were breaking into places to get food. And I'm not talking about getting televisions and this and that. I'm talking about food. So, yeah. Anyway, yeah. Over in the city by the Bay's famous Tenderloin district, Cassie, a 21-year-old mother of two and former heroin junkie, told Fox News that when times were tough, she too has stolen from stores. If my babies need diapers or formula, I don't know why it does that. If my babies need diaper or formula, who is going to get that for me? No one. I have to do it, she said. They ain't out there arresting people for shoplifting, and everyone knows it. Proposition 47 is seen by critics as one of California's biggest blunders, supported by the state Democratic Party. Oh, well, we knew that before they even told us, didn't we? Of course we did. And championed by the American Civil Liberties Union, the referendum was passed by a wide margin in 2014. The idea behind it was to reduce certain nonviolent felonies to misdemeanors in order to free up resources for cops and prosecutors to focus on violent offenders. Well, that's lovely. That's lovely. And I do see the sentiment there. But who wants to own a shop or anything else there that's selling anything? I wouldn't. Unbelievable. Proposition, okay, so there you go. Since Proposition 47 was passed, there's been an increase in theft across the state. Well, of course, they greenlighted it. They might as well have said, put great big signs up, steal up to $950 here. We won't do anything. And they won't. They can't. Yeah. So there's been an increase in theft across the state. Cities like San Francisco have seen organized crime rings turn shoplifting into well-organized racket involving desperate thieves and unscrupulous black market resellers. Among the nation's 20 largest cities, San Francisco now has the highest rate of property crime, which includes theft, shoplifting, and vandalism. Yeah, well, I'm not going to read any more of that. I just wanted to share that with you, just in case you were under any illusion that the Democrats were kind of maybe semi-sane. No, they're not. Not the ones making the laws anyways. I don't know. All right. Okay, let's look at this now. I can't remember what this is now. How the Army officer, this is from the Military Times, how the Army officer who testified against Trump could end up in a court-martial. Now, this is from 2 days ago, but still news. When Lieutenant Colonel Alexander Vindman appeared before members of Congress on Tuesday to discuss what he knew about President Trump's conversations with Ukraine president, he was violating an order from his commander-in-chief not to cooperate with the House's impeachment inquiry. Oh, isn't that something? He is likely protected from legal ramifications from showing up to testify, a former Army judge advocate told Military Times on Thursday, but it remains to be seen whether what he told legislators could get him charged with a crime, and of course, how his choice to rebel against his White House chain of command will affect his career. It's not far-fetched, Sean Timmons, a managing partner at Tully Rinke, said it's a murky issue. It comes down to whether Trump's order was lawful, he said. If Trump was trying to prevent Vindman from sharing sensitive information, it could be. If he was trying to prevent testimony, period, it's not. The Military Whistleblower Protection Act prohibits government officials from interfering with a member of the military and communicating with Congress or an inspector general, adding to the complexity as the president gets to determine what is and isn't classified. If the president were to order the lieutenant colonel not to testify, that would not be lawful. That would not be a lawful order, Timmons said. However, it gets tricky because you have to obey orders unless it is manifestly unlawful. It's not clear if such an order would be manifestly unlawful if the president is using his executive authority to prohibit the communication of information that the executive branch determines to be classified, sensitive, top secret, not to be disclosed to anyone without prior authorization. In any case, Vindman's testimony would need to be limited to avoid disclosing anything out of order, Timmons said. The White House impeachment inquiry policy is laid out in an October 8th letter from its senior counsel, Pat Cipollone, calling the investigation invalid and unconstitutional. Well, that's exactly what it is. The Army, for its part, is publicly backing Vindman Wow. Lieutenant Colonel Vindman, who has served his country honorably for 20 plus years, is fully supported by the Army, like every soldier having earned a Purple Heart after being wounded in Iraq in 2004. Army spokesman Matt Leonard told Military Times on Thursday, as his career assignments reflect, Lieutenant Colonel Vindman has a long history of selfless service to his country, including combat. Lieutenant Colonel Vindman is afforded all protections anyone would be provided in his circumstances. A spokesman for the National Security Council, Vindman's official command, declined to comment on whether he might face an Article 15 investigation. So I think ultimately it would be a gray area for the officer in question, Timmons said. What do I do here? Do I follow the president's directive and comply, or do I follow my conscience? And on the other hand, he added, if he received a subpoena from Congress and failed to comply, he could face charges of conduct unbecoming an officer under the Uniform Code of Military Justice. Yeah, but where does the whole fact that Schiff counseled him through his whole testimony, where does that lie? I'm just saying. Beyond any possible legal fallout, Timmons added, it's more likely that Vindman has torpedoed his career by testifying before Congress. The reality is whistleblowers often face retaliation through subterfuge, he said, because it's unlikely Vindman will remain a member of the NSC staff. His service record will have a big gash in it from being moved mid-assignment, Timmons said. His rater, who signs off on his office evaluation report, is also likely a senior civilian official who could give him a less than stellar review that might affect his competitiveness for promotion to full colonel. And then, of course, if he's not promoted, he'll eventually be forced to retire. Whistleblowers often sacrifice their career because they face retaliatory acts from those superiors they reported against. Well, I don't consider him a whistleblower, to tell you the truth. And I think we have just about, nailed that down, that he's not an official whistleblower. In fact, he didn't even hear the conversation. And I think Schiff put him up to it. I don't even like to look at that man anymore. There's something, him and Schumer, there's something about those two men. I don't know. Anyway. Alrighty. Okie dokie. Oh, yes. We have to get to this, don't we? This is from the Daily Mail, so I apologize in advance. You're going to get a whole lot of pop-ups for cars because I've been looking for a car. Mine's getting very old. And, and I can't... I can't have an ad blocker on this, or it won't let you view it. So, yeah. All right. Hang on here. See, I apologize for all this. This is ridiculous, and it's very distracting. Gay rights activist, 66, who raised $500,000, $500,000 for Obama's re-election campaign, indicted for sexually abusing 15-year-old boy with his boyfriend in a hotel. Boy, Obama knows how to pick 'em, doesn't he? Terry Bean, 66, co-founded Human Rights Campaign and Gay and Lesbian Victory Fund before putting more than $500,000 behind Obama in 2012. He has been charged with 2 counts of sodomy and 1 count of sex abuse. Boyfriend, 25, also charged. Oh, he's 66. His boyfriend's 25. His boyfriend, 25, also charged with abusing the 15-year-old boy in Oregon. Lawyer claims Bean is a victim of an extortion ring. He has been bailed. Now, okay, why is this so old? No. It's been updated. Okay. No. This is old. How come this is an old article? But it seems like everybody's talking about it right now. I thought this was a new article. I'm sorry. I'm having a bad day. Okay. My friend was having a family crisis, and I said, let me pick you up. She doesn't drive. I said, let me pick you up, get you out of the house, so you can clear your head. So I picked her up, and she said, well, maybe like I had to pick up a few groceries, so she says, "Well, I'll pick up some groceries too." But we would go into a store, and she'd say, "What are we in here for?" And I'd say, "I don't know. Didn't you need to come in here?" "No, I thought you needed to come in here." I did need to come in here, but I don't know what I came in here for." "Do you remember what I came in here for?" "No, I don't remember." "Well, I guess we'll just walk around for a while." We walked around for a while. "Do you remember what you came in here for?" "No." "All right, well, let's leave." Yeah, we did that in several stores. So I'm just saying that to illustrate to you that I'm not in my right mind today. So I'm not in my wrong mind either. I'm just not in my right mind. Okay, let's go on. Let's skip that. I don't know. That's from 2014. And I don't know why it's coming up now, because it's been seen on all sorts of feeds in YouTube as if it was like new news, but it's not. They're trying to fool us. All right. Now, and of course, you know this, that Schumer got thousands in donations from Jeffrey Epstein. You guys know that, right? I've covered that before, but just to remind you guys, because I think that's interesting, don't you? Why is Jeffrey Epstein donating to Schumer? I think that's odd. I'm just saying. I mean, he's not donating to anyone now, but that we know of. All right, now let's go to this. Yeah. This. Democrat wears Batgirl costume to impeachment vote, and social media erupts with ridicule. Gee, I don't know why. I mean, seriously. What was she thinking? She wasn't, obviously. Oh my gosh. That's something that when you see, you just can't unsee. It's Batman woman with a briefcase and a iced coffee. There you go. And long boots and a very short skirt and a yellow belt, which I'm not going to comment on that right now. I'm trying to be nice. Democratic Representative Katie Porter of California. Oh, California. Well, that makes sense, doesn't it? Now we know that's what's wrong with her. Now, please don't misunderstand me. I am not making fun of all Californians at all. I know there are a lot of good people there that are caught in the crosshairs. They don't like it any more than we do. So I don't, people say really awful things like, yeah, I hope they have an earthquake and it falls into the ocean. That's a horrible, awful thing to say. Why would you ever want innocent people to die? Anyway, so I just wanted to clarify that. Anyway, she wore a Batgirl costume to Congress on Halloween, but many of her detractors took to social media to ridicule her for the silly stunt. The National Republican Congressional Committee posted pictures of Porter with the criticism that it showed how Democrats were not taking the impeachment vote seriously. I'd find it hard to take somebody in a Batgirl costume seriously. I don't know, maybe it's just me. As House Democrats prepare to officially blow up their majority with impeachment, Representative Katie Porter is prancing around dressed as Batman, they tweeted. Well, she does look like she's prancing. Yep, there she is. Okay, right. People got mad when I said adults shouldn't wear costumes, but are you really going to look at these pictures and tell me I'm wrong? She looks like a mental patient. Yes, she does. No question about that. She definitely does. And, like a yellow belt with a pot belly is not a good look. I'm just saying, don't wear, those guys like Nadler. Now, at least he doesn't put the belt in the middle. At least he pulls it up to right under his breasts. And yes, he does have breasts. So I'm really not this hard on normal people. I'm really not. I look at people and I meet them. I never think these things. But because these people are so nasty and horrible, it just comes out of my mouth, and it's not good. It's really not good. I need to work on this because I don't want to be a nasty person. I really don't. All right, I'll keep it in. So anyway, yeah, so that's what she did. And it says, let me see. This is how seriously these clowns are taking impeachment, they added. When confronted with a statement from the NRCC, Porter responded, Batgirl. It's not Batman, it's Batgirl. Maybe she is a mental patient. I don't know, but this is just craziness. I wanted to see if I could make this bigger. Oh, there she is. Batgirl. All right. Very, very short skirt, Batgirl. She does look ridiculous. She's the only one in a costume. I would be absolutely mortified. Really, I would. I mean, I'm just not one to dress up in crazy stuff like that anyway, but I would if it was for a good cause or something. But come on. You don't show up to an impeachment hearing like that. I would think everyone would know that, but apparently not. All right, let's go back. No, let's. All right, now let's look at this because, just because. Come on now. We don't have all night. Come on. All right. Executive order. United Nations allowed. Now, this is from 2006. However, after we just covered what's happening in Salt Lake City, then I think that this is quite timely because I did not know this. Executive order, United Nations allowed to use force on U.S. citizens. Wow. Now again, 2016, but it's pertinent for today. United Nations military troops may soon arrive and see action on American soil following the United States announcement of support for a set of principles that give a green light for UN peacekeeping troops and police to use force to protect civilians in armed conflicts. The militarization of local police, combined with the arrival of the United Nations military presence, could mean big trouble for liberty and freedom here in America. U.S. Ambassador Samantha Power told attendees at an important UN meeting that the United States was proud and humbled to be included in the new agenda and promised to follow by the 18 pledges. The arrival of the United Nations requires federalization of police in order to set a global standard of law enforcement. President Barack Obama has pounced on the opportunity to exploit recent shootings to push for the federalization of local police forces. Videos have been flooding the internet documenting United Nations military-like vehicles moving across America. And from what I understand and from what I hear, they are there. So, and they are definitely in Salt Lake City because they took over that venue there. I don't know for how long or if they're still there, but maybe somebody that's in that area can let us know. Anyway, and this would not be the first time American politicians have attempted to sell their citizens out to the powers of the United Nations. The UN's first attempt to capture America was in 1951. In strange fashion, forces flying the flag of the United Nations began to occupy small towns and cities across the United States. This was intended to test the will of the people and see if they would accept a UN takeover. The test failed and sparked controversy and concerns over a revolution in the making that would destroy any plot formulated by the Council on Foreign Relations and the United Nations. UN forces were quickly met with much resistance and silently left occupied government buildings and removed United Nations flags nationwide. Broadcaster Myron C. Fagan documented the secretive operation in the 1960s, claiming the UN invasions were intended to be completely hush-hush. The mass media were very accommodating, and the local newspapers and radio stations in the invaded cities were kept silent under the order of the UN. However, in several of the cities, the local police refused to be captured. That caused quite an uproar. True, only locally, but it threatened to spread nationwide, especially after troops and officers assigned to additional invasion units refused to serve. The armed plotters hastily halted all further invasions. President Obama has signed an executive order that allows for the U.S. military to use force against American citizens for the first time in history. Now, we should know this because they have been training in urban warfare. The order was signed on July 1st, 2016, and is titled Executive Order, United States Policy on Pre- and Post-Strike Measures to Address Civilian Casualties in U.S. Operations Involving Use of Force. The order appears to have changed the rules of engagement between the military and ordinary U.S. citizens in an end around the Constitution. So, yeah. Now, whether that, I don't know, and maybe some of you guys know, what happens, you've got an executive order, can an incoming president reverse that? I know they can change it, but can they reverse it? I don't know. Some of you guys that have been born in America and spent your entire lives there, I spent the majority of my adult life there, but may know the answer to that, and please let us know in the comments below, because I, for one, want to be educated on that for sure. But I did think that that was pertinent. So, oh, and I wanted to mention to you, while I was reading that, I was thinking about this. Apparently, there's a lot of government buildings in Canada that now have Chinese flags. What is that about? I don't know, but I am going to be paying attention. None of the government buildings in this area have anything like that, but I wouldn't expect it in this area. I would expect it maybe in Ottawa, Toronto, Montreal, possibly, but very interesting. What is that about? I would like to know. All right. Now, I think there was one other thing up here I thought I would get to. Oh, maybe not. I'm going to get to that in another video. That will take a little bit of time. And I think I read this last time, but in case I didn't, it says President Trump just donated his $400,000 salary to rebuild military cemeteries, but I didn't hear that on the news. No, and you never will. You never will. It's very, very sad, but it's true. Okay, now I'm just going to make sure that I think the rest of this can wait till tomorrow. In fact, I'm quite certain it can. So I think I'm going to leave the rest until tomorrow. I'm hoping to be able to do 2 tomorrow, but again, it's going to depend on my voice because I don't know. I can hear it starting to go now. So and I've been talking for about an hour. So if it's well enough tomorrow, I'll do 2. If not, I'll do 1, because I'd rather do 1 than do 2 and then not have a voice the next day to do 1. So I'll try to get, I am getting over this. I feel much, much better, and it is improving. So anyway, all right, guys. Well, thank you so much. And thank you guys, you guys that support me on Patreon or Coffee or PayPal. I really appreciate it. It keeps me going. There's no advertisement on this site, as you know, and I don't think there should be. So it does keep me independent and not have to be so touchy about what I put on there in case I don't get monetized, because I'm not monetized. So I can pretty much, I mean, I do still have to be careful because they can kick me off altogether. And I don't want that. But yeah, anyway, it helps pay for my time and any equipment that I need and so forth. So thank you so much. It doesn't really compensate for my time really, but it helps, and it helps me to continue to do what I do. So thank you guys so much. You have a great weekend. Remember what I said about tomorrow. Please look that up. If you are at all curious, or if you are in that area and concerned, please look up that information and stay safe. See something, say something. And I will talk to you guys tomorrow. So stay safe, stay well, stay blessed, and keep seeking truth. Deception bites.